Good morning and welcome to Student Hub Live. Well, this is one of our remote events. I'm super excited to be here, and lots of people in the chat are excited to be here from all over the world comparing the weather. I'm here in West Wales and my name's Karen Foley, and here we've got quite a windy and overcast day, but I'm happy to be inside today talking to all of you and some wonderful guests that we have lined up. So this is our Broadening Horizons Careers event. And it's really, really wonderful to have this right now in the midst of this global pandemic when many of us are considering our careers options, seeking different pieces of advice, and we've got heaps lined up today. So you're going to meet some of our careers and employability services experts. We've got lots coming through in the chat today, so you can ask them any questions you'd like to, and in our program of remote events. So we're going to be focusing on a range of different topics today. And broadly speaking, Careers had this wonderful forum, and we've picked some of the key discussion points that came out of that. And what we're going to be talking today about is things like from Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Are People Your Focus? We're going to look at innovation and enterprise, which broadly touch on areas from the Open University Business School and Law School. We're going to look at digital careers and technology in the world of work, and that might appeal to students studying science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And also we're going to take a look at something that I know a lot of people have been thinking about recently, which is teaching and education alternatives. But throughout the day, we're also going to pick up some key skills, things like how to work on your CV, how to deal with an assessment centre, things about interview techniques, and also making your study work for you. So a great programme. You can dip in and out as much as you'd like to. We're on air until 12:30 today, and then in the afternoon we also have a showcase from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences highlighting many of the new modules. Now, I know a lot of you are regulars here, and you'll see we've got a whole host of widgets or interactive polls that we'd like you to fill in. So you can tell us where in the world you are. You can tell us how you're feeling right now, what you're most excited about, what you're most worried about today, maybe as well. We'd also like to know what level you're studying at the moment, what are you studying, and why are you studying? Now, some of you may have been to our workshops, and this is a bit of a different format. So if you're going to click on some of these polls, you just select the poll that you'd like to vote on and select that item that applies to you. Now, where there are things like a word cloud, which is the thing with 3 words in it, you have to put 3 things in, or the computer says no. So if you can only think of 1 or 2, that's absolutely cool, but you need to put a full stop or a cross or something else in the other boxes. And when you've added your responses, you can see what other people at home have to say there also. So you can also, in addition to chatting about whatever you'd like to talk about today, and as I said before, asking all of the questions you've got for our careers and employability services experts who are also in the chat today. We've got Dale there. Welcome, Dale. And Michelle is also on our hot desk. She's setting herself up and getting her tea and various other things together. So she's also going to be chatting and feeding your advice and tips and questions into our guests today. Now, sometimes the screen can move a little bit fast in terms of the chat, and some people prefer just to listen to what our guests are saying and ignore the chat. Other people like to catch up on the recordings later, which you can do, and talk to everybody else in the chat, because it's not often that we get together as OU students to be able to talk about some of the things that are on our mind. So the choice is entirely yours. But if the chat's moving a bit quickly, there's a little pin icon at the top, and you can pin it and scroll down to see maybe what other people have been saying. You can also change the option so that the chat is larger or smaller. There's a little choice option there. So just fiddle around and make sure that you've got the right setup for you. And as I say, feel free to engage or disengage with whatever part of the programme and activities we have lined up in store for you today. So I'm going to introduce you to my first guests. We're going to be talking about whether people are your focus. So I am joined by Claire Blanchard and Anna Plassett. Claire and Anna, welcome. Where are
Hi,
you both in
Karen.
the country? Hi, and how's the weather?
Hi, Karen.
Hi. Anna, what's the weather like and where are you?
Well, I'm in Oxfordshire and the weather is absolutely lovely this morning.
Oh, lovely. And Claire?
Yeah, I'm in Hertfordshire and it's a beautiful sunny day. Blue sky is back, so it's great.
Oh, well, I think I've got the worst deal here, but luckily I'm going to be inside, so I've got no option to go out, unlike you both. So we've got a special poll that we'd like our audience to fill in. We'd like to know, have you logged on to a careers forum before? So you've got three choices there, so let us know whether or not you've logged on to a forum before. But Claire, I wonder if you can fill us in initially about this forum, because Are People Your Focus, which was one of the broad questions from the forum, was really popular. You had over 3,000 visits to that in just 10 days. So what was going on? What were some of the conversations and what did you develop from that?
Well, thanks, Karen. Yeah, it was a great experience. We wanted to bring a new approach and have some fresh ideas to the way in which we engage with students. We really wanted to explore the idea and be able to present to students that one qualification has many possibilities regarding careers involving working with people, because we know a lot of Open University students, one of their motivations and career aspirations will be involving people in some way in their profession. So whether you were interested in working on the front line, perhaps as a social worker or working in the police force, or whether you wanted a role that's more behind the scenes, such as doing some research, we looked at a whole spectrum, really, a scale of different careers, different routes, how you could use your qualification flexibly. We've been really into that kind of idea recently, and we really wanted students to see that there are many possibilities with their qualification.
I mean, this is one area, isn't it, that's really changed dramatically in terms of the scope and ways in which people work with people. I mean, there's some areas that I know have grown massively in popularity. Criminal justice system, for example,
Yeah.
creative arts is another thing. So there's a lot of diversity and change in terms of some of the options available to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Criminology, working in the criminal justice system, again, has broadened so much over recent years, from just thinking about law to now working with offenders, working with victims, working in the systems and processes. And the range of qualifications available at the Open University can enable you to progress a whole number of occupations and professions and working with organisations. We're also really involved in enabling and encouraging students to gain work experience, paid and unpaid, throughout their time as a student, and then looking at the options available to them after they graduate.
Yeah, because I know lots of psychology and criminology students do a lot of volunteer work to supplement
Yeah.
their careers, and I know you guys have been very helpful with that. Well, I think we've got a video, which is a little clip that shows some of the highlights from the forum. So let's take a look at that and see what the students experienced during that.
I'd like to welcome you to the Are People Your Focus Careers Forum. The aim of this forum is to broaden your horizons with a range of careers that working with and helping people can involve.
Hi, my name's Beth Hurrell and I'm Volunteer Coordinator at National Citizens Advice.
I'm pleased to introduce James, who talked to us about his experiences of working for a non-profit organisation in Kenya.
My name's Josephine and I'm here today to talk to you about the NGDP, which is the Local Government Graduate Scheme.
In this podcast, we're looking at aspects to be aware of if you're considering becoming a professional psychologist.
The great thing about working for HMRC is that we have so many development opportunities to help you work in our professions.
If you're interested in a career that contributes to research and regeneration on behalf of localities across the UK, you might be interested in the type of consultancy work undertaken by Mike King, Director of People Places Insight Limited.
Hello, my name's Dr. Zoe Washington. I work within the Centre for Policing Research and Learning.
Looks absolutely super, Claire, and I bet that that was such a positive thing for you and other members of the Careers and Employability team to work on. But Anna, I wonder if we could bring you in here. Anna is a historian of political ideas and the Enlightenment, and is a lecturer at the OU. And Anna, you're chair of A225, which is the British Isles in the Modern World. And you were very involved in this forum. So I wonder if you can talk us through how history students in particular and the graduates have been considered to look at careers outside of the box, I guess, a bit more broadly than just a history degree.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen. Absolutely. So the whole idea came from the fact that we thought there was this misconception that sometimes if you study history, you must either become a historian or teach history or maybe work in a museum. And that's really absolutely not true. And that's really what we wanted to advertise. We're very keen to explain that history really develops a very wide range of skills. Very core basic skills such as digital literacy, but also a wide variety, things like, problem solving, communication, both online and written communication. And from a discipline perspective, what we do as historians is that we gather evidence, we look at evidence, we assess evidence, we think critically, and we write up our conclusions. And these are skills that are really applicable in a very broad area of careers. So what we want to advertise to everyone is that history graduates are really incredibly versatile, and there's an incredible variety of careers and sectors that they could be working in. And Claire and the careers team as a whole, they're very knowledgeable about what specific range of careers are available. So one of the things we've been doing is we've been trying to encourage more direct links between our history students and careers and Claire by bringing careers into the history degree via things like this forum.
Sounds absolutely fantastic. And I know that many people have taken history degrees and then gone on to develop something completely different on the basis of that, because it is very, very broad and varied and versatile. Claire, can you tell us how you've done some of those things that Anna was talking about, really picking up some of those skills and exploring those ideas with students?
Yeah, sure, Karen. Yeah, it's been great to develop a really good positive working relationship with academic teams, and we have been able to work collaboratively on modules where we can see the transferable skills from your study through to the employment competencies that employers really value. So just as Anna mentioned, problem solving skills, all of these things that my colleague Chan will touch on later in the CV session, and also preparing for an assessment centre. When you recognise the skills and strengths that you're developing from your study, just remember and try and put all of those down somewhere. Try and jot them down in maybe like a personal development plan or a notebook, or make notes on your calendar, even like reflect back and think about the skills and strengths that you've developed. And if there are still gaps, think about, well, where could I get that from other modules? How might I kind of use some of the advice that's available online on my study site? I know that there's a great skills toolkit available to students who have access to their study site. We also have lots of advice, including a career planning guide that's available to download from our web pages, and it's broken into sections, split into different sections, ranging from helping you to think about your short, medium and long-term goals, because that's really important these days, especially as we know, Karen and Anna, in the current times. Perhaps we can't think of too much at the moment about our long-term goals, but we can start planning perhaps for the next 6 to 12 months once we know kind of, as restrictions kind of get lifted and things like that, we could maybe start taking those first steps again and start planning. But do it where if you need support, we're here to support you as well. We've got lots of advice. So yeah, access our web pages or your study site, career planning guide. We can also post you a copy if you need a printed copy as well.
Brilliant. I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it, Claire, that you've mentioned some really practical things that I can imagine are super easy to do. And you yourself, you work with module teams to embed careers and employability skills into the module. So sometimes, you know, you can be very mindful that you're doing something that could be a great asset to your career. But I mean, I'm often guilty of this. I think I should jot all these things down as I go through, and then it would be there all together. But it's hard to remember some of those things. How might students identify that? I mean, you've mentioned a sort of notebook, I guess, which is a really good practical idea of a way in which you could sort of, I guess, keep a tab. But how might you get students to sort of start identifying those aspects that they're learning, but also then to keep a log of it? What would be a simple way?
I think a simple way, having been an OU student myself for across many modules, including history and creative writing, I always took on board maybe some of my tutor feedback where they were looking objectively at my strengths and also my areas for development. So I always kind of highlighted areas that I took on board from my tutor feedback, but also, you know, thinking about you know, my grades and also just being able to kind of translate my skills and look at maybe vacancies or career opportunities on websites that show you what skills and competencies are needed. So the Prospects Graduate Careers website, for example, has a whole database of job profiles, and that's a really practical way to maybe start exploring and researching careers and roles that you might be interested in the future. But also it's really good because it shows you what the essential skills are needed for that role, and that's where you can then start to focus. Okay, well, I need to build on that skill, or I need to acquire that skill a little bit more because I can see that it's really essential to have.
Brilliant. Now, there are lots of practical things that you do. You've mentioned some of the support that you offer, and some of these are super because you've got things like the Opportunity Hub, graduate vacancy, you help with work experience. I mean, there are lots of things in store. We're going to talk about some of those throughout today, but can you give us some highlights then, Claire?
Sure, yeah. We've got a fantastic employer engagement team. Many students, I just looked at the widget actually, and I can see this is maybe what we were expecting a little bit, that we still recognise that a lot of students on their study journey with the OU aren't aware of the range of and variety of support that they can access from Careers and Employability. And we have a fantastic graduate vacancy and work experience platform called Opportunity Hub. It's available to all registered students and eligible alumni. And we work with a variety of employers. Some of our highlights recently this year, Karen, before we were all forced to stay indoors, included an industry visit to the headquarters of Channel 4, looking at a range of opportunities and getting an industry insight. We've had our team take some students to the BBC studios in Cardiff. We've done a visit to the headquarters of the Environment Agency in Oxfordshire, where I think it was so amazing that even if you were not an environmental student, you could be told about the range of roles and occupations that the Environment Agency, you know, have and need to run that agency effectively. So whether you're interested in social policy or psychology, whether you're a business student, you know, there are many organisations, civil service being one example. So, you know, many organisations where your qualification can enable you to access a range of opportunities.
And Anna, history students were involved in this also. So can you tell us then how they were able to access careers advice throughout their modules?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Claire said earlier, we try to embed employability in our modules directly. So when we were writing A225, the history module that I chair, I worked with the careers team to try and embed embed employability directly into the module. And I really wanted to keep that relationship going because I learned so much from it, from talking with the careers team. So the idea was that we started a forum that was available to all our history students. So anyone who is enrolled in a history qualification or a history module can access this forum. And we asked Claire if she would agree to come and be an active participant in the forum at all times, so that when our students have a question about careers or a question about the skills that they're developing, Claire is here to answer all the inquiries that they may have. And she's here to tell them all about the broad range of careers that they could enter. And especially, I would say, careers that students may not realize were available to them. And because Claire is a historian herself in many ways, because as she mentioned, she's taken a number of history modules at the OU, she's really able to make these direct connections between the knowledge and skills students acquire in history modules and the careers that they could get into. So it's been really wonderful, and I think the students really enjoyed it, and they found it really useful to have someone available to answer their questions.
I think it's so important, because this is the thing, isn't it? It's great to have people who are not only experts in something that I guess you can learn about, like how to write a CV or how to do interviews, but someone who's got a lived experience of things that students are studying, and also how OU students study, because it is a very particular way of studying. And there's so many skills that OU students neglect to mention, like resilience and great time management and persistence and all of those things that employers really value.
Yeah. And one I would mention again, even though Claire's mentioned it already, is it's really difficult to motivate yourself to go through your feedback, learn from it, act on it. But it's really one of the most important skills that OU students develop, I think. And Claire knows this. And it's really important our students realize that just doing this is developing their employability skills.
Brilliant. Now we've got the lovely Michelle in our chat. Hello, Michelle. How are you? Where are you? And how's the weather today?
Well, Karen, had a bit of a faff this morning, but I'm here now. We all have technological issues, and so if I can overcome this, any student out there can overcome this, whether it's submitting their TMA or writing their assignment or preparing for an interview, whatever it might be. But we've got a great range of students here. I've just been having a look. We've got Claire, who's studying philosophy and psychology, Leanne studying criminology. We have Jasmine, who's studying computing and IT, River, Valerie, and Salita all studying environmental science, and Lilybell is studying politics, philosophy, and economics. So we have a whole range of students. And then geographically, we have a whole spread. If you look at the widget, I don't know whether you can all see that, but you can see they're spread all over the UK there. But also we have some international students, and we have the lovely Tala in Kuwait. And I'm not quite sure where Helena is, but Helena has asked the question, what about career support for international students?
That is a very good question, because we have careers throughout the nations and throughout the various faculties. Claire, what about international students?
Yeah, hi to everyone internationally and across the UK. Hope you're all okay. We do support international students. When you're an Open University student, we'll do our best to help you. A lot of the time, we have students who are studying, who are based in another country, and one of the first questions I would probably want to explore with a student is, where do they intend to work, maybe after they finish study, or are they going to continue living and working in the country that they're in? Now, if it's a really popular profession, or a profession that requires professional accreditation, for example, something like a psychology career, then I would always recommend to students that they check with the country that they intend to work in and look at the equivalent professional body in that country to see whether or not the qualification that they're gaining from the Open University is going to be valid or requires any further country-specific training or additional requirements. So we will always try and help through our discussion with the students. Our conversations, our careers consultation is always led by the student, and we want to kind of explore with them what their ideas are. And yes, sometimes we may have to kind of explore potential barriers to progressing a career if it's in a country where it is very, it's maybe requires other requirements that may not be as straightforward as if they were progressing their career in the UK. So although our knowledge, our professional industry knowledge is mainly UK based, we have much more insight into industries in the UK, obviously, as you might expect. We do work and keep our continuous sort of professional development up to date with international activity, global activity around the world in various sectors. We're linked to, we link in with various professional bodies and institutes where we can keep our international knowledge up to date about various sectors as well. So we try and do our best, and then we hope to enable students. One of our aims through careers guidance services is to enable that student. We've given them advice, we've given them guidance. Hopefully they can use that information and advice to then continue progressing their ideas and make an informed decision.
Sounds fantastic. Well, I think a lot more people are familiar now with the Careers and Employability Service, because earlier today, 48% said that they weren't familiar. So we had a question here. Do you think you'll explore a broader variety of careers forums after this discussion? So we'd like to know from you at home whether you think that's going to be the case. Not sure. Yes, certainly, or can't wait for the next careers forum. Claire, how do people find out when these are happening?
Yeah, they will receive emails, and you can follow us on the main social media links. If you looked on your main student home webpage, you can click on the Help Centre, which will take you to Careers and Employability, and then you can follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. You could find us through your own subject. Like I mentioned, the study sites based on the qualification and the faculty that you're linked to, we have a presence. So if you went on your study site, for example, you could click on the Succeed tab, and also under forums, where you'll find we sometimes have forums running all year round, and you can go onto the main, once you're a registered student, you can go onto the main website and click on Careers and Employability Services. But many students now receive regular updates through some of our digests called Careers Express. And you will also, if you're registered to Opportunity Hub, you can even set up alerts for employer events such as careers fairs that we have, professional bodies events that we have virtually. So I think we're really good at being able to offer a whole variety of employer, industry insights, events that you can speak to employers and find out more. You can speak to us first if you're a bit hesitant, you're not quite sure what to ask. And then if you do want some individual support regarding your circumstances, we, as Open University staff, we're very empathetic, and we understand that many students have complex circumstances and priorities, and we always want to kind of take those into consideration and support you in the best way we can. So through your help centre, and you'll find us through your study site and on our web pages.
Brilliant.
And
Well,
I would say as well,
Anna.
oh, sorry.
No, go
I
for
would
it.
just say as well, if there are any historians here, the way to find Claire's wonderful thread is via your modules. You will find links to the history module there, and Claire's thread will be in there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Anna. And thank you, Claire, also. And thank you, Michelle. We'll come back to you for our next session, Michelle. Grab yourself a nice cup of tea. And I'm glad you've been able to sort the technical issues out, Michelle, because it's not Student Hub Live without our hot desk. And you've got a lovely cup of tea on the go already, I see there, in a branded mug, because we're very particular about those. That's wonderful. Excellent. So we're going to show you a short video. We've been working with some partners actually at the Open University, and one of those is Sky. So we're going to show you a few little videos throughout today's session, but we've also got some slides that we'd like you to think about. You might want to have those as prompts to talk about in the chat, and so we're going to ask about whether lockdown has had an impact on your career plans. So we'll have a short break, and then we'll be back for our next session, which is all about CVs. I'll see you in just a minute.